Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a massive staple found in pantries pretty much all over the world. You know the exact one I'm talking about, right? That deeply beloved, rich, chocolatey spread that is heavily marketed to us, and especially to parents, as this perfect, nourishing addition to a kid's daily breakfast. We've all seen the commercials with the fresh bread, the happy kids, and the promise of wholesome morning energy. But what are we actually feeding ourselves and our families? Well, we are going to look closely at a really eye-opening analysis from the Sattvic movement to uncover the reality hiding right there behind the label. So, what is really inside your favorite chocolate spread? It's a question we almost never ask, mostly because we just trust the branding. We trust the smiling faces on the advertisements and that totally familiar shape of the jar. But today, we're looking past that. We are peeling back the label to examine the cold, hard facts of the ingredients list, stripping away all that slick marketing to see what actually makes up this daily treat. Okay, let's dive into this. The reality check begins right here. A staggering 50% of that jar, literally half of the entire product, is just pure white sugar. Think about that visually for a second. If you have a jar sitting in your kitchen right now, imagine drawing a line straight down the middle. Everything below that line, nothing but refined white sugar. The source material points out a massive contradiction here. When half of the jar is pure sugar, how can this possibly be advertised, let alone justified, as a healthy staple for a child's daily breakfast? It honestly completely shatters the whole illusion of a nutritious morning meal. Now, you might be wondering, what makes up the next massive portion of the jar? Well, it's edible vegetable oil, specifically refined oil. The analysis points out a pretty tragic irony here. Refined vegetable oil is, quite literally, the absolute cheapest oil available on the commercial market for manufacturers to buy. It costs them next to nothing. But as the source notes, while it is the absolute cheapest for their bottom line, it is the most expensive for our health. It's basically a filler ingredient that heavily benefits the manufacturer's profit margins while offering zero nutritional value to your body. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate marketing sleight of hand. If you look at the front of the packaging, what do you see? Hazelnuts. They're proudly displayed, giving you the very clear impression that you are buying a rich, nut-based spread. But the actual bulk of the product? It's that sugar and refined oil we just talked about. The hazelnuts? They make up a mere 13% of the jar. Just 13. The ingredient they heavily advertise on the front of the pack is completely dwarfed by the cheap filler ingredients that actually bulk up the jar. It's quite the visual misdirection. But wait, the recipe isn't finished quite yet. To mask that massive bulk of sugar and oil and to make it look and taste like the product you expect, we have the hidden additives. The source methodically lists them out. You have a little bit of cocoa powder, because after all, they need to make it chocolatey. Then comes a bit of milk powder and even less whey powder, purely to give that sugar and oil mixture a creamy mouthfeel. And finally, the packaged food industry's absolute favorite ingredient, emulsifiers. Why are they in there? Simply to artificially keep this concoction fresh for months on a supermarket shelf. It's a carefully engineered chemical and filler mixture designed to mimic real fresh food. Which brings us to a very stark warning from the source material. They use a really powerful concept here, warning us not to fall for this packaged food betrayal, or what is considered a doka, a scam or deception. If you don't want to fall for this scam, you need to be deeply aware of what's happening behind the label. It's a conversational caution, but a very serious one. We are essentially being sold a sugary, oil-filled mixture under the guise of a wholesome hazelnut treat. The real betrayal is the massive gap between the packaging and the reality of what we are actually consuming. Moving to our next section, the healthy homemade alternative. Let's look at how to make it at home. Now, we aren't just here to take away your favorite treat and leave you empty-handed. We can actually bypass the commercial food industry completely and create a vastly superior, truly wholesome version right in our own kitchens. Just compare those previous chemicals to this wholesome list. Grated coconut, soaked cashews to naturally provide that incredible creaminess, jaggery for a natural, unrefined sweetness, cacao powder for that deep, authentic chocolate flavor, a touch of vanilla, and a pinch of rock salt. Do you notice the difference? Every single item on this list is a real, transparent, nutrient-dense food. There are no mysterious emulsifiers, no cheap refined oils, and no massive dumps of white sugar. This list is just pure, transparent nourishment. So the crucial point here is just how incredibly easy this is to make at home. You don't need a factory or some complex processing setup. There's literally only one step. You simply blend all of those real ingredients together with a little bit of warm water. That's it. By blending the grated coconut, soaked cashews, jaggery, cacao powder, vanilla, rock salt, and warm water, you instantly create a perfect, creamy, and totally healthy chocolate spread. It takes just a few minutes, and you know exactly what is going into your body. This brings us to our final and definitely most important question of this explainer. Will you make the healthy switch today? We've seen the stark contrast. On one hand, a highly marketed commercial jar that is literally 50% white sugar, bulked up with cheap refined oil, and held together by chemical emulsifiers. On the other hand, a rich, delicious, transparent spread made from real coconut, cashews, and cacao that you can easily blend up in your own kitchen. The knowledge is now in your hands, and the choice is absolutely yours.